morning, everybody. This is the Mitchell County Board of Supervisors meeting at the Mitchell County Courthouse. It is 8:30, so we'll start. We have in front of us an agenda. Any discussion on that agenda? If not, do we have any motions to approve?
I'll move to make that motion.
Todd's made a motion and Mike has seconded.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Moving down, approve the minutes, the September 21st meeting and the claims. Is there any additions
September
or 21st meeting to last week's meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and claims.
Mark has made a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Jim has seconded. Any further discussion?
Roll call. Todd?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Motion has been approved. Moving on down, County Attorney, general discussion. Mark, are you out there?
Yes, I am.
Good morning, Mark.
Good morning.
I guess, question for you, did you have a chance to read that 2080 agreement with Elderbridge?
Yes, I did.
Did you have any issues with that?
I don't have any issues with it, but here's my concern. Are they going to require, I mean, is the Attorney General's office or whoever it is, are they going to say every single entity that the county decides to give money to, do we now have to have 28E agreement to sign with them? Because that's in effect what they're saying. You know, and if we do it with Elderbridge, are we going to do it with everybody else?
That's kind of the way I read it too. Yeah, the way I understood it. But
I
I
think
mean, you've been giving money to, you know, Carpenter and granted they may not fall into that because they stay non-public entities, but the daycares, all the daycares around and places like that without having these 28E agreements, and it's never been a problem. You've been doing it for 20 or 30 years. Why all of a sudden now does it become a problem? I don't know if you remember the auditor a few years ago said, you know, you should have some formal procedure when you do this. But the auditor never said, when we were our auditor, the state, never said, oh, you can't do this, you can't give this money to these places. And there's all kinds of Attorney General opinions that say as long as the Board of Supervisors make a decision that it serves a public purpose, that you can do it. Now all of a sudden they say, well, you need these 28E agreements. Well, why? I mean, I don't see anything wrong with this, but do we get onto the so-called slippery slope where anytime anybody comes in and asks for money, we have to sign a 28 agreement. They have to say specifically what they're spending that money for. They have to provide proof to us that they spent that money for that. You know, I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
If that was to happen, who would be requiring us to, the example you just said, who would be requiring us to fill out the 28E? Would it be the state, or would it be the entity that's providing it to us, or what?
Well, I don't think anybody can require us to. You know, and that's what they're saying. You can't give out this money unless you have this 28E agreement. We've been doing it for 20 years and have never
So do we not do it and see what happens? Question?
I wish I could say, this one with Elder Ridge I'm fine with that, okay? My concern is now, are we gonna require every entity that comes to us and wants money to say, okay, you guys have to do a 2080 agreement with us before we're gonna give you any money?
And we actually do have a form that we've kind of set up since this year of everybody filling it out on how much they want, what it's going to be used for, and I guess we're just taking their word on it, that they're using it for that, but we could actually add on there that we want to physically see what you did spend that money on, maybe, and then just keep that on file.
Yeah, that might be the way to go, rather than requiring everybody to do those 2080s. So I don't have a problem at all with that, the 2080 agreement. It's just frustrating to me that, and this is kind of my opinion, and I hate to even say this, somebody's trying to justify their job. You know, they're sitting in an office down in Des Moines saying, well, if I don't do something, they're going to get rid of me because they'll say I'm not doing anything. What can I come up with? And that's terrible to say, but unfortunately, a lot of the procedures that are put in place by the government are exactly for that reason. Somebody's trying to justify their job. And you and I all know, this accomplishes, for all practical purposes, nothing. This stuff has been going on for years. It's been running just fine. We haven't had a problem. Why all of a sudden do we need these agreements?
Sounds like politics.
Well,
Yeah. So I don't have a problem with this one.
Okay, Mark. Well, that answers that question. Do you have anything else for us?
No, Aaron and I will probably run over there at 9 o'clock in case you have some questions for us.
Okay,
All right?
thank you. We'll move on then. Sheriff's update.
So what I have for you this morning is Jeff Upland and Bill Mayprice, who were bailiffs for us, providing courtrooms, who have retired. And so those positions will now essentially fill with the deputies that are on the duty schedule. So initially we'll go from both having two, both Bill and Jeff, down to just one full-time deputy in the courtroom. And there's a possibility that we may have a good candidate to replace one of those guys so we can get back up to two in that courtroom on court service days. So we're still good. We'll still provide courtroom security for the judges and all the courtroom issues. Bill and Jeff have both decided to retire. And so good for them. They've done their time, and so thank them for their service. So we'll move forward with that without any hiccups. A month or so ago, I brought some estimates on a water heater install in the sheriff's office. That's been done. So that much has been updated. So that's good. I don't think I have anything else that's critical. We had 13 inmates for a period of time last week. Starting to cycle back down. That's a lot of folks for one jailer to handle.
Mm-hmm.
They're all new. Things going on with meds and just life issues. So that's a lot of people for one jailer to handle. So cycling back down, which is good. I don't think we have anything else unless you guys have any complaints on my office over the last week that I don't know about. I'll certainly listen to them. All right, thank you.
I don't have a complaint, but I going through the claims, And just for my own knowledge, I see that 2016 Silverado, I believe it had to have a crankshaft put in it. Is that what that?
Had a what?
A crankshaft put in it?
No, not a crankshaft. There was some seals that were leaking, I believe is what it was.
Okay, but I mean, you think it's okay? I mean, it's getting up there, right? So probably in a couple years it'll be
Yeah, no,
ready
it's
to,
good.
okay,
Yeah, it's good.
okay.
I can pull that bill specifically about it.
No, I'm fine with that. I just was, I thought on the bill it did say a crankshaft, and I thought that's kind of a major deal, and I just,
They would have to pull a motor, wouldn't they, to repair that?
It did say crankshaft.
yeah,
did
I
say
thought
that.
that's,
Did
yeah.
it?
Yeah.
And, but as long as you're okay with it and things are running good,
No, it's good, it needed to be repaired, and
Was it the rear main that was leaking?
I think so.
Then-
Yeah, it wasn't,
Yeah, that's something that they have a tool where they can pull that in. I
Okay.
think Mark can explain that a little better. Maybe not.
help me out, Mark.
Probably a crankshaft seal. I mean, they just label it as crankshaft.
Yeah, there was a seal.
'Cause you would have to
issue or
pull.
something, and they changed the oil, they could see that it was leaking, so it's.
Yeah.
okay. And I,
Did they
and
have
if,
to pull the motor, or to do that?
To do a crankshaft, you would, yes.
yeah, that's what I
I was
figured.
thinking they had a
The
way to
seal you
do that.
wouldn't have to, but.
They didn't
seal.
pull the motor in the truck.
It was just a seal.
Okay. And the reason I thought, I was asking is maybe we should, you know, when it gets time to cycle it, maybe we should take a look at that, you know.
Yeah, and I try to do that, if we have one that has a tremendous amount of repair costs and it looks like it's maybe becoming a lemon or
Yep.
something, we try to do that vehicle. It doesn't too many miles to that,
Okay.
so.
Or we could hand that to Rich and.
We have, but we
Gravel
haven't,
absorbs oil pretty well. so.
yeah, we haven't had that problem. You know, over 7 guys, they all drive differently. Some guys can run a lot with the pickup and not need brakes. Other guys need it 2 or 3 different times. Just how they drive. Hard to brake fancies. So, anyway, it's good.
Okay.
All of you, we did appreciate the question and all this stuff.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
All right, if that's everything for the sheriff, then we'll move on.
I haven't heard anything back from the engineer on the heating, air conditioning, have we? Haven't had any guidance. Oh,
And maybe Jim's more up to
Yep.
speed on that than I am.
Haven't heard any,
I-
haven't heard anything.
Okay.
No.
That's fine, yep.
All right, we'll move on to department head discussion. And I don't believe anybody is jumping up and down and waving their hands, so.
There is a letter that that I'd like to read.
Okay. I'll let you have the
Veterans
floor, Jim.
Affairs sent a letter to all of the board. I guess I just want to read it. It says, "Dear Supervisors, it is with great pleasure that I pass on a compliment for Mitchell County Home Health, Public Health. During this pandemic, the staff at Home Health, Public Health put in long hours to make sure people got their respective vaccines and were scheduled for their second vaccine shot. Running this kind of operation took loads of people and great planning on their part. This they accomplished with flying colors. Now we have a flu season upon us once again. On the 22nd of September, I witnessed the public health team once again in action. The ease and professional planning for this operation went extremely smooth. One person was doing data entry paperwork, another was gathering the information from the patients, and the third was administering the shot. All of this was done in a very smooth and efficient manner. Now they will go throughout the county providing flu shots to another member of our county. The local VA clinic in Mason City also does a mobile operation each year. They not only have a drive-up clinic for veterans at the VA clinic, but they also go throughout the counties they serve. They have 3 to 4 hour clinics in Mitchell, Floyd, and Worth County, to name a few. So please give them a big pat on the back for the job well done. Furthermore, please provide them with the equipment they would need to make their operations to run more efficient and provide other medical services within Mitchell County. Respectfully yours, Lawrence Clemersher, the Director of Veterans Affairs. So I just felt it's appropriate that we read that.
Thank you. Is there any other
discussion for what Jim just brought forth? Hearing none, we will move on down to county engineer update. Rich, I'll let you have the floor.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I passed out cost estimate, or estimates for the bids that or the quotes that we got for the motor grader. I talked to you last week. I was going to bring you a recommendation this week. Looks like the spreadsheet did a lot of rounding that I wasn't aware of. But for the most part, the Cat, I sent quotes out and sent a quote out for a Cat 140 tandem drive and a John Deere 770 tandem drive. I give the suppliers the option to quote any other options or machines they think would be relevant. John Deere wanted to quote a 670 also because they thought that was more competitive with the Cat 140. I think most other counties are quoting the 140s and the 770s against each other. But as you can see, even the base prices were a little bit different between the Cat and the two John Deere pieces of equipment. With the trade-in and everything else, it turns out Cat was cheaper. I guess I fat-fingered a number on the Cat number was $345,962.18 and not $926. So the final cost on the Cat was $312,772.18. And then I should verify that I didn't fat finger the John Deere numbers as well. The John Deere 770 is correct. After trade and everything else, the final cost would be $360,975, and then the 670 would be $339,225. Cat also quoted, we've been using Hinky equipment on the motor graders for quite some time, and it's nice to have the same lift group in the front so we can transfer plows back and forth. Hinky might be a little bit behind on snow equipment. Falls equipment makes good stuff too, but it doesn't. Their lift group doesn't allow us to interchange between all of our equipment. So they did quote us a price. The Cat quoted us a price with Falls snow equipment, which was a little bit cheaper by a few $1,000s. But I think overall, I'd rather keep the Hinky equipment. It seems to be heavier built and it makes everything interchangeable. Murphy, the John Deere has what they call a premium circle. They included it in their bid. It's probably a $10,000 option, but even taking that $10,000 off what they bid still kept Cat within the ranks of being lower. And I don't know that, the longevity of that, I think it's a new thing. I think they were trying to explain they were using their excavator circle. The excavator, the unit they use on their excavators for rotation is what they're putting on their motor graders now.
Turntable?
Turntable, yes. Similar situation like that. Seems to be a pretty good piece of equipment, but the longevity we don't know anything about. I don't know if they do or not. And then also they have grade control on their machines. Cat didn't. Cat's grade control, if you look on there was an additional $9,500. If we wanted grade control, I didn't include it in that price, but even adding in that price still doesn't bring John Deere low enough to be competitive. And I know we don't always do based on price, we base on what the needs of the county are, and right now we've got a Cat fleet that seems to be working well for us. I know Cat's changed some things with their DEF systems and their particulate filters too. So anyway, I think at this point I'd recommend that we purchase the Cat 140 from Ziegler. So I know it's a item that we have in the budget. I don't know if it needs full approval, whatever. I just think you guys ought to know where we're headed and kind of get a consensus or whatever. But I think that's the direction we're going to take. Well, I didn't get any information. I think the biggest thing, the lead time, I wasn't able to get a lead time on that, but I think the thing that holds everything back is going to be the snow equipment. The snow equipment manufacturers are just backlogged. sounds to me like the machine, they've got machines ordered and they're coming in, but as far as snow equipment goes, I think the backlog is in that department. So we'll see what happens. We're not in dire straits by any means, but Cat gave us a heck of a trade-in on a machine that has 4 gears that work. So and they had a buyer. That's how they could give us more money.
Wow.
So somebody across the pond wanted it, and they want to stick money into it, so they can have it. But if we can get rid of a few more at that price, we'd be good. So, but
Upon warranty work, where's Murphy come out of?
what?
Real far, but Ziegler is probably Mason City.
Yeah, Mason City, Clear Lake comes out. Yeah.
And then the V plow didn't get traded, just the motor grader, right?
We're gonna get we'll still have the V plow, but we're gonna new equipment anyway. Some of the V plows just they get old and wore out.
They're crystallizing, they're starting to harden, and they're starting to require lots of welding here and there, so I think that's a good idea to
And
start
I guess worst
replacing.
case scenario, I know they're just a solid piece of steel that we keep welding on to repair, and whether there's value to us or not, there's still scrap value. I don't think anybody else is gonna care whether we've got the plow equipment or not. I don't remember, I guess I never included it in the trade whether they're gonna want the V plow or not. It makes no difference to me whether we keep it or it goes with the piece of equipment. We're getting new snow equipment on this one, so it'll be a full dressed unit when it comes in.
Oh, I think that's a good idea to replace, them plows they're fatiguing, you know, they've been,
When we bought our 2014s, we didn't replace the plows, and we retrofit everything, and stuff just starts wearing out.
They take a lot of abuse.
They do, yeah.
yeah, and a lot of them V's were tired then. You know, the stem system on them is archaic, and all that's all, like I said, bounced, and it gets brittle, and it fatigues, and that doesn't work well.
There's less paint on them, so when they paint them next year, they'll have a nice base on them. So,
Well, anyways, I would be very happy with the Cat 140.
Looks
Any
like
other comments?
Looks like it's a better price, and if that's what you prefer, I mean, that sounds like that's the way to go.
well, I mean, we bought a John Deere in Worth County. Somehow the prices worked out well for that. The John Deere's got a great piece of equipment. I think the guys really like it over there, but you know, we still got to look at dollars and cents, and
Yep.
with the price gap in there, that amount of money goes to another piece of equipment or a support piece. So.
Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me.
Okay, I won't go that direction. Walnut Avenue, I think we sent out a thanks for sending the winds out. I don't know.
Didn't see it last night,
I was appreciative. I used to have access, and I don't know how to access it, so if you're okay with it, if you don't mind, I'll just send my winds notifications to you guys to put out at that.
yeah, that's fine, we do the phone, we've got on the system.
Okay, I just don't know my login stuff, and I get a little nervous about it, so. But anyway, we're gonna replace, Jim remembers when we paved that road back in 2009, there was a box culvert just on the north end by Tetzner's repair shop that had some voids in it, and it just kept getting worse now, so we're gonna yank that out and get that replaced. And then further north, there's another culvert that seems to be failing, so once we get this one done this week, we'll try to get the other one done next week and get going on that. So there'll be 2 closures. We're trying to do the best we can with a detour. With a small closure like this, we're trying to not make the detour so big. When we close the one north of town, that's going to make a big detour. So I think we're going to skirt a little bit and just use the gravel for the small amount of time. This one, the one north is probably going to be less of a closure than the one, because we're putting dual pipe in by Tetzner's, so it's going to take some flowable grout. And one north of there, since it's one pipe, we might get by without setting up flowable grout and get it backfilled and get traffic on it. And then we'll try to get these things patched before winter. So just trying to reduce the harvest now and everything else, trying to keep things moving. So.
Did the box fail, or does it look like it's?
I think there's more voids in there now, so there's something sucking in there, and just get rid of it and put something in there that we know is going to flow. So.
I wonder if there's a tile that's under there, because
Once we open it up, we'll know.
Yeah.
But I know it's continuing to settle, and it's just not getting any better. And we could keep pumping grout in it, or we can just get rid of it and move on. So that's what we're going to do.
That's the one in Tetzner.
Right by the Tetzner's. The one.
Yeah, the pipe are there, everything looks like you're ready to roll,
Yep.
and I do believe there is a tile in there. I just didn't like, it always ate material there.
Well, if we find it, we'll do something with it to get it, whether it's under the road or wherever it is. We haven't found anything yet that I know of, but I don't know where it
I told Merlin there's a tile that's in the ditch that drains a basement drain to the northwest. So you have to watch out for that.
Is there,
because if you cover
that water flows to the southwest.
Yeah, but
So is there something on the east side?
on the west side, there's a drain from that house that's to the northwest that dumps there. And I know that because I covered it up one time and had to go back and find it, so.
All right.
So
We'll make
don't
sure.
destroy that.
Yeah, we'll make sure.
Okay.
And then, the bridge on Underwood, they plan on pouring the back wall tomorrow, I believe it is. They got some backfill put on the northerly abutment, so things are progressing there. Hopefully they keep moving on that. The weather's been good, so. That one's moving along, so I don't think that I'll bring you next week the 2080 agreement from Cerro Gordo County. I don't believe that there's really a whole lot that I need to change in here or look at. It's just more of a confirmation of what we want to do, reevaluate their costs that they want to use for shared costs. So I'll bring that next week. We can get that on the agenda to have action on the 2080 with Cerro Gordo County.
Okay. Any questions for Rich?
You talked about funding, sometime we can figure that out. Does WHKS came up with any?
I'm going to meet with them
numbers?
next week, so we'll probably have a little bit more target.
Okay.
And that was the goal, was to have them do something different, so they're working on some stuff. So.
All right.
Yep, because we've still got to get an agreement with them too for the work, so.
Thank you.
Yep. If you don't need me, I'm gonna head to Worth County. I got a bridge deck pour over there I want to get to.
All right, thank you, Rich. We have a few minutes here. I think we can move down to number 8, don't you think, Rachel? I think we should have plenty of time, discussion and possible action on 28 agreement with Elder Bridge. Anyways, we all did, I believe, receive the information from Elder Bridge, and we all read it, and Mark gave us his approval to approve this, even though we're wondering on whether there's a need to of it, but anyways, is there any discussion on this? Fellow board members, any thoughts, ideas? We've heard County Attorney Walk's thoughts on it, and I think we just as well approve it and move on, and I will see what the future is on other, but I think this will be in our interest here to approve this for today anyways. Do we have any motions to that effect on the agreement, 2080 agreement with Elder Bridge?
Move to approve the 2080 agreement, the 28E agreement with Elder Bridge.
Jim has made a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Mark has seconded. Do we have any further discussion?
Roll call. Mark?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Todd?
Aye. So, we have approved the 2080 agreement with Elder Bridge. And I guess hopefully we're not doing that with every entity that we're giving money to, but we'll go forward for right now and see what the future brings.
I'm just going to tell you, for your reference also, it's amazing the things you find out when you actually read the code. 28E agreements to be effective have to be recorded with the Secretary of State. They also have to be recorded with the county recorder. I would say maybe 10% of the time that happens. Then there's also annual reports that have to be filed with regard to the 28E. I would say that virtually never happens. I went online just to check some, just out of curiosity, how many of the ones that I have done have been filed, and maybe 1 out of 10 actually got filed. 0, absolutely none of them had those annual or biannual reports that were supposed to be filed. So these 28E agreements, I think they get entered into, and they're really not effective because the law says until they're recorded at the Secretary of State and with the county recorder, they're not valid. So I think 90% of these 28E agreements, if not 98%, are totally invalid. It's just, because nobody does anything because there's nobody to monitor. Nobody ever sends you a letter saying you didn't file your 28E, you didn't file your annual report. It's just, they're just out there.
Well, I'm sure that we'll probably give some money to somebody that doesn't have that, and we'll find out who's got the teeth, if there is any. And I guess that's the only way to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been doing it for how many years this way, like you said, and it's, the other counties doing it too, I suppose, right?
I'm 100% confident that every other county in the state is doing exactly what Mitchell County is doing, without entering into 28 agreements.
All right. Well, it's 9 o'clock, so we'll move back up to number 6, appoint Mitchell County Attorney. So,
Shall I read all this, Rachel?
I think that sounds good.
Pardon?
I said I think that sounds good.
Whereas the Mitchell County Attorney Mark L. Walk has resigned effective December 26, 2021. And whereas pursuant to Section 69.14A, the Board of Supervisors has the authority to fill a vacancy in the office of Mitchell County Attorney by appointing a successor or by calling a special election. And whereas pursuant to Section 69.14A, small parenthesis A, parenthesis 2, a petition may be filed by the public within 14 days of the notice of publication or within 14 days after the appointment is made to call a special election to fill vacancy by appointment. And whereas notice of the proposed appointment has been published pursuant to Iowa Code 69.14A.1, small a in parenthesis, 1 in parenthesis. Now therefore, be it resolved by Mitchell County Board of Supervisors that Aaron R. Murphy is appointed Mitchell County Attorney effective December 26, 2021, dated this 28th day of September 2021. And this is Resolution 1105-21.
1106.
Oh, yes, duh. Yep, 1106-21. Anyways, discussion. Quiet. No thoughts, nothing? Alrighty. Do we have any motions to approve Resolution 1106-21? Jim has made a motion to approve. I will second. Any further discussion?
Roll call. Mike.
Aye.
Todd.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Jim. Steve.
aye. So, that's done.
Thank you very much.
We have a future county attorney in the room.
Aaron? Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep.
Just-
Thank you.
Just for your reference,
You'll notice that we have an ad posted upstairs for the county, assistant county attorney. We probably have that filled, individual with 10 years experience, so he'll be a good assistant county attorney. He's been both a prosecutor and defense attorney. He was a county attorney for a while, so he knows both sides of it, so we've got a good guy coming on as the assistant too.
I had 2 inquiries on why do we need an assistant.
It's too much work for one person. There's no way one person can handle it.
It's Worth County's only got 1.
Yeah, it would be pretty, I've been prosecuting for going on my 25th year. Used to be, I don't know that one person, when I came here, there was an assistant and a county attorney. It was probably needed then, it's probably needed more so now. I don't know, I'd have to track and see what the level of, like, for example, criminal filings are, whether they've gone up or down. And I guess I don't know, probably up a little bit, but the process of criminal prosecution has gotten bulkier, a lot bigger. And I think also with what Mark does, on the civil side for the board of supervisors and the juvenile court, it would probably be almost impossible for one person to do it and have a private practice.
And what I would say is if you look around, Charles City, Floyd County is very similar in size, and they've got 2 full-time people. Howard County, I think 2 full-time. Most of the counties around us now are full-time. We're one of the few. Worth County and us are one of the few counties that have part-time county attorneys.
Howard County, I think Cedar, I think he's still part-time.
Worth County just has 1 attorney, right? They don't have an assistant?
Right, that's correct.
I checked into that, and they just, people were just wondering why we have an assistant when.
One person couldn't handle it. It's just what's really increased, at least for me, because I do the juvenile work, and Aaron does the mental health commitments. Juvenile work used to be, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours a month. Now it's a minimum of 10 to 15 hours a week. It has just exploded with meth, and that's the reason. You've got bad parents. The bad parents are 90% of the time because of meth. So the juvenile work has just exploded.
I think I'm a pretty analytical guy. Numbers mean a lot to me. I've sat down and thought before. I think even if, for example, even if Mitchell County, I think, had a full-time county attorney, I think we'd still have to have an assistant on there. Now you might say, well, how's that work? How would that be? You got a part-time county attorney and a part-time assistant now. I think frankly, Mark and I utilize our time pretty well. We've done this a long time, so everything pretty well streamlined. But I think it'd be hard pressed. Like I said, I guess Howard County, I think Shaver, I think what's he, 75%. We got different classifications. He might be 75% time county. I'm not sure. I guess they do it with 1 person. I don't know what their volume is compared to us, but it's pretty. It would be impossible for me to do. I guess I can't speak for everybody else. It would be impossible for me to be kind of attorney with head assistant and still have a private practice. And sometimes people say, well, if you didn't have a private practice, well, yeah, then, of course, I have a full-time county attorney to pay us to go up, so I don't know, in the end, probably all shakes out pretty similar.
How about on the, like when, and I haven't noticed it since I've been on, but like if say you're gone on vacation or something, Could the assistant county attorney hop in on our Tuesday meetings if, basically just a list, you know, and if we did happen to have a question, we'd have somebody, you know, online that we could.
Yeah, that's, I think during, you know, during, like I said, 24 years I've been doing this. I haven't been a whole lot of times I've come over and sat in on a meeting. I have, but been a while very often. But a lot of times, like Mark was gone, I get a lot of calls from Stan Watt. You know, and I mean, that's part of it. I mean, the assistant county attorney, presumably, I think, ought to be able to handle what the county attorney can. And I think it's fully deputized to exercise all the duties. And I think who we're looking at for an assistant is also does a lot of city attorney work. You know, for different places. Not necessarily the same as, you know, not identical to being county attorney, but a lot of the same concepts. You know, so, I think it would be pretty good. There's always going to be a certain amount of transition. You know, I was thinking about this, you know, I was telling my wife a day or two ago, maybe over a weekend, but this is the only place I've ever worked in our law school. This is the only first place I came was here. It's the only place I've ever been. I practiced law with Mark Watt the whole time. You know, the whole time. I never practiced law when he wasn't practicing. Had McKinley, had Folkers, you know, Jerry died, McKinley retired. Had a couple of associates that for whatever reason, you know, didn't work out. So I guess what I'm saying is as Mark retires, I transition in, it's going to be a certain amount of adjustment. Yeah. I feel pretty confident about it, but it's going to be a certain amount of adjustment, you know, just because, like I said, everything, you know, for 24 years, things have been a certain way. Well, now they're going to be different. But I guess that's what life is, right? Yep. I mean, you know, that happens. You know, so I guess what I'm saying is I do recognize there'll be some transition, but I don't think there'll be a transition that disrupt anything. But I'm just saying, me, you know, as I sit over at the office working, it's going to be a bit of a transition. I realize.
What is the process for appointing an assistant? Does the county attorney appoint that, or is the board involved with that, or what happens?
The county attorney.
Okay. All right. And then to get back with what Mark had asked a little bit ago, whenever anybody looks at the auditor, the county attorney, the board, the sheriff, whatever, they don't see everything that's actually going on. People are a lot of times busier than what people actually see that they're doing. And so it's a legitimate question to ask, do we need an assistant? Are you busy? That kind of thing. So, I mean, that merits asking the question.
Yeah, the last 20 years, there's been a lot of change in the legalities and the issues. And as you said, with juveniles, things, you know, 25 years ago, you slapped them on the rump and you taught them a lesson, but things are different now. So I understand the way you put that. That makes more sense. So. Okay. Anyways.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
All right, gentlemen.
We got our numbers.
Okay.
Thanks, buddy. You bet.
Everybody still shakes hands or not? Still shake hands?
We can, because I've had COVID.
Well, I've
so.
been vaccinated.
Well,
good luck on that.
No, it's all right.
All right, Rachel.
See ya.
Good to see you.
You'll hear
Thanks
from
for
me.
always helping me out.
Have a good day.
I bothered Rachel a lot with a lot of stuff.
All right. Moving on down to number 9, discussion of county funding for nonprofits, and I think we kind of went through a lot of that already. Does any supervisors or Rachel have anything to add to that?
We had just received that from RSVP if we wanted to do something similar to Hancock. And I don't know if we necessarily need to after talking with Mark, but I didn't know your opinion.
Can we not do it and see what they say?
Mm-hmm.
All we can do is get scolded, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, every time somebody requests doesn't necessarily mean we need to jump. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to think there's a lot of counties that work with RSVP. I could be incorrect, but she only gave me Hancock as like an example. So I don't know if the other counties said no to it too, or if they went ahead. I'm not sure.
Another thing is with time, we can watch and see what happens.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where I
Some
stand.
pain broke, don't try to fix it.
there you go.
Yeah,
Right. Sounds good.
so, well, I guess we'll just let things slide for now and proceed and see what the future brings. And maybe we'll get scolded from the state and we'll find out, I guess. So, any other discussion on that? Thoughts? None. All right, we'll move on down to number 10. Items of note. Meetings attended.
I had 2 meetings. One was Central Iowa Juvenile Detention Center. That's the one in Dora. And briefly, their detention report, the trend is for clients now to have more serious charges. Fight in the school and got a broken nose. Now a lot of it is assault with weapons. And so things are more severe now than what they used to be. And they also have a transportation service. They have 45 transportation vehicles that are around the state. So if the sheriff's office is busy, they have some of these vehicles that can do that. They approved their financial report and their expenditures report. And then there was an Upper Cedar Watershed Management meeting. There is, the acronym is CREP, but it's Iowa Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program, and it provides incentives to landowners who voluntarily establish wetlands for water quality improvement. And there is a CREP wetland that's being built north of Waverly. It's a 15-acre footprint. It's not a mitigation wetland like what we're doing. And this speaker pretty much just spoke as far as the benefits of wetlands to denitrify. Wetlands denitrify the water that's going into the That's it.
Mike?
I had a North Iowa Community Action Organization Board meeting, Mason City, where their budget and stuff, and they've changed some of the heat assistance guidelines for different size families and stuff, and went over all the programs that they offer, and so they've raised the guidelines for heat assistance to numbers. So anybody's interested in that, they can go to North Iowa Community Action Organization. They help with needy families with all that kind of stuff. So.
Okay. I had no meetings.
I had a county social service one. Megan Teets gave a presentation on the HIPAA laws and what they have to be in compliance with, and they went over their budget for the year and about it.
I had a, actually, the first one, Rachel, Paul, and I met with Kelly Molitor and Thomas Meyer on, he's the IT guy for our school, on the website design and getting kids involved with helping us with that. And sounds like maybe starting as low as 7th grade and then moving on up into more difficult stuff and early stages, but I think we're going to get that going. They're looking at taking some pictures and flying the drone here this fall, so we have some nice colorful trees and with the courthouse and moving on from there. So, and then I had Economic Development meeting last night. We had two people present us, this Bruce Hansen on spec buildings in Iowa, and how we could get some help from different entities. And it was interesting that there's two available pending for sale left in Iowa. They've done quite a few, and I think what was there, like 7 or 8, and all of a sudden they're gone. People are, I mean, this kind of time of it, it's hard to believe, but they just bam, they just sold. So, and just early stages of looking at something like that around our area. And then hometown housing, a couple guys presented that to us. St. Ansgar actually has hired them, and just looking at maybe countywide of how we could get homes built. What are our needs with the industry needing people to fill jobs, how we could get people here. Very interesting. They, from the ground level to financing to everything, it's quite interesting, and I thought it was good to listen to them. And what else? I guess that was a late night, so I guess that was about it. We'll go. So that was it.
All right, thank you, Todd. Moving on, manure management update, Rachel.
Brazen 5 site, 2169 410th Street, Osage. Merton Farm site, 5082 Rampart Avenue, McIntyre. Rundy 4 Finisher Farm, 4665 Addison Avenue. Fred Cashmeter, 3328 450th Street, Riceville. Heman East Finisher Farm, 1301 70th Street, Riceville. Blugie Farm, 3890 Indigo Avenue, Osage.
Okay. Last public. Do we have any public comment today? Charlie.
Charlie, we missed you, bud.
I miss coming.
All right, hearing none. Do we have any motions to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn the meeting.
Mike has made a motion.
I'll second.
Todd has seconded. Any further discussion? All right.
All those in favor, say aye for adjourning the meeting.
Aye.
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 Meeting is adjourned.